Good morning and welcome back to my channel. I think we barely are in the morning. It's getting towards lunchtime, isn't it? It must be heading up towards 12 because Joe picked me up from group and then we had to go and get petrol. So it's a bit of a delay. Anyway, we're here and I actually stayed to group this week and thoroughly enjoyed it. It's funny because I've been dashing in and out just to get weighed because of circumstances. Having a quick chat with the people I generally, sit with or whatever. I haven't actually noticed how much the dynamic of the group has changed because of the huge number of new members. It's been really nice this morning because there were, as we went around the room, and there were lots of people who talked about their weight losses and that, and I'm thinking, don't know you, don't know you, don't know you. And that was, excuse me, I've got a tickle. That was actually really, really refreshing because you realise if people don't keep coming in whilst people are leaving, getting to Target often and leaving, then the group isn't going to continue. But I do know after sitting, somebody had said to me in my comments last week, about would I have thought about being a consultant if I could see or whatever. I can't remember the exact comment, I may be quoting that quite badly, but do you know I wouldn't? I think it's one of the hardest jobs. I know doctors and nurses and firemen and all the other things, they're all hard jobs. We used to say a coal miner was a hard job, didn't we? We don't have many of those now. But I think to be a Slimming World consultant, you must need the patience of a saint. I haven't got that. I probably would offend 50% of the clients every week. It's a hard, thankless task, and I think sometimes I need to appreciate my consultant a lot more than I do appreciate her. She does a fantastic job. But it's not an easy job. And even if you've had fabulous results and you've lost, my weight loss currently stands at 13 stone 2.5. I don't think that would ever qualify me to be a consultant, even if I could see. I think you need some really, really, really different qualities from the qualities I've got. And I know that I could not stand up in front of a meeting every week and be as kind and as thoughtful and as polite and as just wonderful as my consultant is. And I know there are many, many fabulous consultants out there. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. I was going to tell you about my week. We've had a good week. It's been flipping cold though, hasn't it? But we've done a little bit of walking this week. I don't think I haven't done anywhere near as much as Joe. I've probably done about 70,000 steps this week. But I've been wrapped up like an Eskimo. I even got the sheepskin gloves out this week, and I even thought about wearing a hat one day because it was evening and it doesn't mess your hair up and it doesn't matter as much at night, does it? We were in town the other day, and Joe will wear a hat. He's got several hats. I won't, because I have this thing about my hair. How would I cope if I went into Waitrose or John Lewis or anywhere in town and I take my hat off and, oh dear God, my hair. I just don't have the kind of hair that can wear a hat. So, but one day, I think it was the day before yesterday, I did actually have to resort to putting my hood up, didn't I, Joe?
Yeah.
It was when we were walking back, wasn't it? The night before last, Thursday, I was out with you. And he takes the mick, and that's putting it politely, because if I put my hood up or I wear a hat and I've got my parker on, and I'm quite short, Joe's 6 foot, I'm 5'2" and a fag paper, he calls me Gary. He calls me Gary because he says you look like a little lad. Because I've got a black parker and I wear jeans most of the time and trainers or boots, and he said to me one day, he says, come on Gary, and no disrespect if your name's Gary, there's nothing wrong with the name Gary, it's just that's Joe's pet name for me because I look like a little lad. But I suppose it's better than when he used to go out with me and I just look like Big Mama all the time, didn't I? Anyway, it has been a lovely, lovely week. I was talking with somebody in group this morning and she said, hasn't January dragged? And it hasn't for me. Do you think this is a sign of getting older? Time goes so quickly. And I think my friend used to explain it by saying that he thought as you got older, each year was a smaller proportion of your life. So it seemed to go quicker. Whereas when you're 5, and a year is a fifth of your life, when you actually turn 60 and a year is, I'm 62, aren't I? A year is a 62nd of your life. They just go so much quicker. So maybe it is a sign that I'm getting old, but I've thoroughly loved every day of January. And I was talking with this lady and saying, you know, I didn't find that. For me, January seems to have gone quite quickly. But I have a lot of birthdays and different things that happen in January. So always plenty going on. And she said, oh yes, but she said, you weren't starting from a place of catch up. Your weight stayed the same in that over Christmas, and you weren't coming back from a place of catch up. So you weren't focusing on getting weight off, you were just focusing on living the plan. And maybe that helped. And also sort of, I know a lot of my friends are struggling financially in January. It's a month of big bills, it's a month of, you know, covering what you spent at Christmas and that kind of thing. And I think maybe it is just an age thing, because I didn't have any of that to catch up on, so it's been a comfortable month. I was looking at my weight loss compared, you know, and I go back over and I look at what I was last month compared to what I was today. So the first weigh in January, I was 9 stone and half a pound. My weigh in today, I'm 8 stone, 11 and a half pounds. So I'll go on to tell you that I had a brilliant week on plan. Didn't skimp on anything, had 2 A's every day, 1 B every day, and 15 sins every day, except on 4 days I only had 14 and a half. So what does that take me to? 103 for the week. And I lost 1.5 pounds. And I can feel this week where it's coming off. And this is, when I was at this kind of weight before, which is probably about 5-6 months ago, I felt so different here. I'm like, I could, you know, I just feel like it's all come off there. In fact, I'm losing, I'll show you that, I'm losing my jeans. I'm kind of like, I need to put a belt on before I go out. And that on me is always a telltale sign, because it's the last place it comes off and it's the first place it goes on. So I know that, you know, wearing a pair of size 10 jeans, I'm going to feel it here. And that's why I don't wear any sort of stretchy pants or jogging bottom type things as a rule of thumb, because it goes on here. The last place it comes off is here. But I can gain 0.5 stone and not alter anywhere else. So that's a good indicator for me. And also this week I just feel so comfortable in my body. I've got so much energy. I could like dance a jig and run and jump and shout and scream. I'm overflowing with energy. But I think a lot of that is about the foods I eat. And yeah, this has been a sort of evolved into this place. It hasn't been conscious decisions and changing things. I've evolved into this place. When I look over my food diary, I mean, I had a lovely email from a girl called Rach the other day, and she was saying to me, you seem to eat quite differently to a lot of the way that people in groups do. And I do eat quite differently to a lot of the ways that people in my group do. Because I think I'm very old-fashioned, you know. I eat proper dinners of meat and veg and fish and veg and potatoes and whatever. I don't eat a lot of sauces. I don't do a lot of one-pot cooking anymore. I used to love to just throw everything in one pot, but now I prefer a meal made of fresh veg and fish and potatoes or whatever. My breakfast's been it's changed a fraction this week, because I still have my quark and my all bran, because the all bran is good fibre for me, so it's a good B choice for me. But on one morning this week, Joe said to me, why don't you put an espresso shot from your Nespresso machine into your all bran before you mix your quark in, because I am a coffee holic, love coffee. And I did it, and because I then let the coffee soak into the all bran, and then after a few minutes stirred in the quark but kind of folded it in, so you had pockets where it mixed with the coffee and the all bran, and then pockets of just plain quark. In a lot of ways, and you might think it sounds a bit exaggerated, but in a lot of ways it tasted like a tiramisu type dish. I mean, it's bitter and it's strong because I used a number 9 coffee, but for me that's good because I'm not chasing the sweet. I've had to change from all bran, the Kellogg's one, to all bran, the Morrison's one, because it's not so sweet. And again, it's evolved. I've been sugar free or very, very, very low sugar for how long, Jeff? 18 months? More?
Yeah, probably about. Maybe
Between
more.
18 months and 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really has changed the way I want food. So I've gone from wanting sweet with everything. I mean, I used to have 2 or 3 sugars in a normal small mug of coffee. Now I have a pint mug of coffee, and I wouldn't drink it if you put sugar or syrup in it, because it would be too sweet for me. But I think all of these things just happen gradually the longer you are on this lifestyle. Well, it is for me, and I feel like this week I'm behaving so much more like a normal person without even giving it any regard. There was a couple of times in the week when Joe's been getting food out of our pantry fridge and said to me, "Oh, while I'm in here, do you want me to get you some sushi out for your tea?" "Yeah, please. 1 pack or 2? 1. Because 2 is too much. It depends which sushis I'm having. I mean, I buy so many different kinds. Now, at one time, if I'd had the option, if there's 2 packs there, I'm going to eat them, because I'm greedy so-and-so. But my attitude is changing. Even if I'm eating a piece of fruit, like there's some gorgeous red pears in Marks and Spencer's at the moment. They are really nice. But yesterday, when I was eating one after my lunch, I'd eaten probably 3/4 of it. And I went to put it to my mouth to take a bite, and I thought, I don't want any more. Now that wasn't normal for me. It's becoming normal. At one time, I would have practically licked a plate if there'd been a dessert on it. I just, I used to lick the lid off a yoghurt. I wouldn't dream of doing that now. And I don't know why. I just feel I've changed, but it's been so gradual. And I think I used to lick the lid off my yoghurt because I was frightened to death of wasting or not getting what I was entitled to have. And I just can't explain why I feel so differently about it, but it really is making a difference in my life. Right, Joe, what happened to you this week?
I got Marie Kondoed.
You got Marie Kondoed. I've been working through the house and using the Marie Kondo method for tidying, and oh my God. If I say it's changed the atmosphere in our house, would you agree with me, Joe?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it might sound like nonsense. It's worth giving it a go. It has lightened and brightened and brought joy into our house that Joe is noticing things. I changed things that weren't necessarily visible things, and he was reacting to it. So I'm thinking, this is working. I've read 3. I finished my Marie Kondo book by reading it again, the one I was talking about last week, the decluttering one. And then I found a book on Audible by Karen Kingston called Declutter with Feng Shui. And it's lovely. She's a really nice lady and she reads the book herself, and she's very interesting. And that's my kind of book, something you can get your teeth into and learn a bit of something from. Well, actually, last week when I said I would be bankrupted by something and Joe laughed and said it was him. It wasn't him, it was books. I am totally obsessed with books. Fortunately, because now I read on Audible and you can keep them in the cloud, I can buy a couple of 100 books and nobody notices. So I can have 200 books in the cloud, whereas if you had 200 books on a bookshelf, it would be obvious, wouldn't it? But this book I read, Karen Kingston, Decluttering with Feng Shui, I really would recommend it. And so I used some of the principles from that, including things like do not hang things on the back of doors. I never thought about it. I had brass hooks put on the back of some of our doors so we could hang dressing gowns, things on them. So in my dressing room, I always hang my dressing gown, my nightie, whatever, on the back of my door. Just outside the bathroom, where the door from the hall, which is always open, Joe's toweling dressing gown hung on the back of that door. And it just says about it, hanging things behind doors creates dead energy behind doors, also stops you opening your doors 100%, stops the flow of energy through your house, all of these things, which might sound like utter nonsense. But oh my goodness, just changing things like that has made such a difference. And then I was saying to Joe about enjoying the Marie Kondo book, and on Thursday, I think it was, on Audible, the book of the day was Marie Kondo again, and it was called Sparking Joy, or To Spark Joy. So I've worked my way through that since Thursday night, and been again adopting lots of the little tidying principles. We now do not have a junk drawer. We didn't need one because the junk that was in it was 99% waste and useless, so it's gone. The other stuff that was in it, things like the sellotape and that, you know, that you just chuck in anywhere, the plasters and things that I just chuck in anywhere, those sort of things have now got forever proper homes. And we don't have a junk drawer anymore. I've feng shuied my desk, that feels better. I've Marie Kondo'd my cupboards, Marie Kondo'd underwear, and Joe had a basket in his wardrobe that was overflowing with jogging bottoms and shorts. And when I went to put some clean washing away the other day, I thought, I'll Marie Kondo that basket. So I'd watched a very good video on YouTube of a young woman, and a young Irish lady, and I can't remember her name, I'm sorry, but she does like folding the Marie Kondo way. It's worth looking for because it's life-changing in such a simple way. I used to hate it when you had all the clean laundry to come out of the tumble dryer and needed putting away. It was a job I'd avoid doing. Now, it's just so simple to just fold it the Marie Kondo way, put it away. It feels better. So I got this basket of Joe's, and it was literally it was a deep basket, it was overflowing with jogging bottoms and shorts. So I took them all out, laid them on his bed, folded them the Marie Kondo way, stood them on their ends, put them back in the basket, and I'm like, what have I missed? The basket's only 60% full. So there's me on my hands and knees thinking I've dropped stuff and it gone under the bed or at the bottom of the wardrobe or whatever. But everything was back in the basket. And just to fold it properly in that Japanese style, it took up, well, it lessened, it took away 50% of what it looked like was there, because it was literally overflowing the basket. Now there's gaps, it's got room for more stuff. And just folding underwear and stuff like that. I mean, I have baskets with lids, one for bras, one for pants, one for socks, whatever, because it's easier for me. But just to put them in there properly, and it's about respect. And she talks about having respect for the things you own. And Joe and I were having a talk about it the other day, and we were talking about having self-respect. Because we are worth it. We are worth looking after our clothes properly. We are worth washing and ironing, and no ironing. Forget that, scratch that. I have never ironed for the last 10 years. I don't do it. We are worth or worthy of looking after ourselves. So, dressing in a comfortable manner, as Marie Kondo would say, that brings you joy. And the difference between being the size I am today, 123.5 pounds, and the size I was when I started, which I think was 308 pounds, the difference is, today I can dress in clothes that bring me joy. Then I had to put on whatever the hell fitted me, and I generally felt like a bag of SH1T. I never had any self-respect. I've shared on here before, I didn't care if my dinner was down my clothes. I didn't care if it was still down the same clothes the next day. I didn't care if my hair needed washing. I didn't care. Just didn't care for me. I really didn't. And now I just feel like the simple things, like what I'm wearing today, jumper from TK Maxx, which just is Jaeger, but Jaeger price at TK Maxx is 50 quid. Jaeger price in Jaeger would have probably been 130, something like that. It's just a simple jumper. It's so comfortable. A very simple pair of pants, a very simple bra, a pair of Wallace jeans, and I feel good. Now, I would feel just as good in a jumper from Primark that fitted properly, or jeans from Primark. No, I probably wouldn't actually. I don't like their jeans. But do you know what I mean? It's not about the fact that it's a Jaeger jumper. It's about the fact that it fits. And it's about the fact that the fabric I like. Stuff like that matters. One very brief thing I want to touch on before I go, and this is relevant to my week. Karen Kingston and a Decluttering with Feng Shui talks about not just looking at decluttering your desk, decluttering your house, decluttering your car, whatever. Look at your body. Think about what you put in. And in Feng Shui, for your house, your front door is the mouth. Everything comes in that way. I'm pointing over there because mine's over there. The back door, which would be the door into the garden from my bedroom, is, if that's your mouth, that's your, you know what I mean, don't you? So, think about what you put in. It's what you bring into your house, it's what flows through your house. The same applies to your body. It's what you put in your body. I had a lot of problems over the years with my stomach. I had my gallbladder removed. I blamed it for everything. I never blamed myself for the fact that I needed my gallbladder removing, which was totally caused by the way I ate, which was my choice. I just blamed my gallbladder. Poor little inoffensive thing got all the stick. I had my gallbladder removed. I've never looked back. But I've been more careful about what I ate. There's stuff today I don't eat. Because I don't eat sugar, I don't want to, don't crave it, don't even think about it. Everything seems to flow better through my body. I think everything used to get sticky and get stuck. Because I'm much more mindful of the amount of dairy I eat and the type of dairy I eat. The only cow's dairy I eat is a tub of quark a day. My other dairy is coconut. My cheese is goat's because it's a type 2 protein. All of those things together have alleviated the bloating I used to have. I feel like my middle moves properly, whereas before it just went like that. So she was saying about, toilet habits, and it's a funny subject to talk about, but it's relevant to all of us. Think about, do you go daily? Do you go every other day? Do you go every third day? I know lots of people have different habits. But she was saying very much in the East, where they're much more conscious about what they eat, they use a squatting technique for going to the loo. The Westerners, which is us, we have this thing that we call a toilet. So your body position is totally wrong when you want to go to the toilet. And I thought, hang on, I don't quite get this. I couldn't squat to do whatever they do in the East. We're used to the toilet, aren't we? And I was thinking, when do I fret about not being able to go to the toilet? Well, most days I'm as regular as clockwork, and it's generally sort of after breakfast and whatever. The one day I fret about it is Saturday when I'm going to Slimming World. Now, a funny thing happens, and this is where your mind can be stronger than your stomach and your bladder. On a Friday, I drink exactly the same as I do the rest of the week. All the way through the week, I'm a woman of a certain age. I get up 2 or 3 times in the night to go for a wee. On a Friday night, I never do. Never do. Now, this has got to be my mind taking control over my bladder, because the fluid's in there, it's got to come out at some point. So you talk about mind over matter, I've got mind over bladder. But it's got to be a subconscious lock down somewhere in my system. So I get up on a Saturday morning and my first thought is, oh my God, I go out early on a Saturday to group. Very rarely do I go to the toilet. I'm not talking about wheeze here, I'm talking about the other jobs. It worries me every Saturday, and I think the stress is not good for your bowel anyway. But listening to this lady who was talking about what they do in the East as opposed to what we do in the West, she gave a bit of sound advice, and so I thought, wait till Saturday and try it. I'm going to sit down on this little table behind me. This is, imagine our toilet, right? It's about the right height. And she says, when you sit on the toilet, if you're conscious about getting weighed in the morning like I am, when you sit on the toilet and you really believe it's going to make a difference if you manage to go to the toilet first, to simulate actually the squatting action, which is the healthiest way of opening your small intestine, Joe? Large, which is the bowel. Mm-hmm. Yeah? So to simulate opening the bowel, whereas a normal person who can squat, that position does it. We're sitting on the toilet, sit upright, right? Put your hands up and keep them up. And I'm not telling you, I'm telling you, without any exaggeration, it works. That, sitting in that position on your own toilet, in the privacy of your own bathroom, so nobody's going to be laughing at you, actually does open up your large intestine. And now I've got that in my life, I'm going to start up again. Now I've got that in my life, and I know I can do that on a Saturday morning before group. I think it'll alleviate a lot of my stresses.
You can also put your feet up on books or like something raised as well.
You can actually get proper toilets, like stool
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
can't you?
A
on
stool
the
that like
internet?
sits around your toilet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a stool that like sits around your toilet, so you put your feet up, and that again does the same thing. It opens up your large intestine. So for anybody who has these problems on a regular basis, not just on weigh day, I just wanted to share that. I know it's a strange subject. It's not even too much information because let's face it, you know, we don't talk about it, but even the Queen must do it. But it was something that made a difference for me this week. So yeah, all in all, we have had a good week. I have got energy, I have got enthusiasm, I have got just about the slimmest body I've ever had, and it feels great. And I've got a zest for life that I just never ever had. I feel so much better today than I've ever felt in my life. And I am totally grateful for it. And I do put it down to Slimming World, because Slimming World, although a lot of people will say to me, Jane, Slimming World doesn't teach portion size, you're going to crash eventually, you're going to fail eventually. I beg to differ, it does if you use your books. I've learnt portion control through Slimming World.
We're at 26 minutes.
Yeah. I've learnt portion control from Slimming World. I've learnt to say no through Slimming World. I've learnt to eat well through Slimming World. And I am really grateful to them. I'm also really grateful to you for watching this and for coming back week after week. We'll go on, we'll do what we normally do, 2 A's, 1 B, 15 sins. It's a bit different for Joe, because although he's at Target now, he has more than that because he needs to. But you had a good week, yeah?
Yeah.
Brilliant. And he lost £0.5 pound this week. But he's trying to slow that down by increasing to 3 A's, 2 B's, and I'm going. See you next week. Cheers, everybody. And thanks, Kath, for taking the jumper. Bye.